All right, good, mic's on you, gentlemen. Good morning. It is Tuesday, November 21st. This is the City of Winters Finance Insurance Admin Committee. Four things to be discussed in committee today and considered are the emergency hiring bonus policy, properties available, surplus properties possibly of the City of Winter, end of year transfers, and the airport fund. So,
And end of year meeting. Mr. Clay just brought that up before cameras came on.
end of year meeting.
Yeah,
Added.
to set the date for it.
Oh, yeah.
I thought with us getting all the transfers done in that first meeting, we wouldn't have to.
That's why I hadn't brought it up yet, so, I don't know.
We probably should schedule it just to be sure.
That would be my thought behind it, as he and I were talking, let's get a date. And then if we don't need it, we don't need it, and we can get rid of it at that point in time. So, he was looking at a calendar, we'll just skip right ahead. He was looking at December 27th, which is a Wednesday. And he asked about a morning meeting, maybe right after ordinance committee, since they are typically pretty short.
Not lately.
End of year ones are.
Oh, I thought you were talking about ordinance committee.
Oh, no.
What'd you say, November what, or December? what?
December 27th, it's that Wednesday after Christmas. Or Thursday, the 28th. And then doing it during the day. Either right after committee or. So what we said, Mr. Clay, is possibly there's a chance we won't even need that end of year meeting, but it'd be good to have a date so people can plan, and if we need to cancel, cancel.
I like the 28th,
That's that Thursday.
Yeah.
but you say an afternoon? Or would you
I
guys?
like morning, but
Okay,
That whole week's so screwed up for everybody, I don't think it's gonna matter.
Right.
Christmas is on Monday.
right.
If people may be gone for Christmas or
Yeah.
not, if they're here, but
The only day that we are closed is Monday. We're not observing any different day or anything like that. We're just closed Monday.
28th, because I think the 29th, people are getting out and probably moving on for New Year's.
That's Code Enforcement and Corrections Committee.
Won't need it. We'll know where we're at by then.
Okay, so you want to just do 8 a.m.?
Yeah.
8,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get you in early and get you guys out of here.
I like that.
Okay. We'll have the council set that at the next council meeting then, and again, if we don't need it, we'll know probably by that second meeting of December if we even need it.
Why wouldn't we need it? Isn't that when we do all our end of year
Well,
transfers?
so that's one thing we're gonna talk about today, is I'd like to get the transfers done.
We're on to item number 3.
Yeah,
Go
we're
ahead.
just moving all over.
I like it.
So, if you skip several pages ahead, past all the blue highlighted stuff, there is a page that has a purple sticky note on. It's the second from the last page. These are the budgeted transfers that you have. You have $850,000 from electric to general. You have $150,000 from corrections to general, and $498,506 from corrections to 911. In the past, what we've done is we've looked at each department and fund and said, do they need the full amount? Do we want to do the full amount? And if they've gotten extra revenues that year, we haven't always done the full amount. Now, this year, it has been discussed, that's what we budgeted, let's transfer it.
And that's the way we've actually, I think, did it last year.
We
Did you?
didn't transfer everything to the general fund last year.
Okay.
Yeah. But there's, a little over $1 million, no, just right at $1 million going into the general fund. What are your guys' thoughts? That's what's budgeted. All of the funds can support the transfers, so that much I do know. I don't have to worry about that. The revenues can support it.
How much is needed? I mean, what's the difference between this million million and a half compared to what they actually need, where we won't know that till later?
So the biggest reason that you transfer at the end of the year into the general fund is mostly so that you start the year with a bigger number so that you can slowly deplete the general fund. At the end of October in your financial statement, there was 700,000 in the general fund. We've been running at over $1 million, but now we've creeped underneath that $1 million. So the biggest reason to transfer it, same with 911, is so that as you're writing checks at the beginning of the year, you're not putting it in the red, which is, there's been plenty of years previous that your first claims list in January, you're immediately in the red. So that's kind of why we started making it so that you can slowly deplete it and you're always writing checks out of a
But
broke
what
account.
I'm wondering is how much is needed? You said sometimes we don't put all this in there and sometimes we do.
You're correct,
So
yep.
what's actually needed?
The toughest thing is when we go into budget, basically we have the starting cash balance. And then we slowly tick down and we don't know that. My thought and what I'm asking you guys to consider is just do what we budgeted and then come April, you guys will be able to adjust in the next budget. If we don't need to transfer more the next year, you guys can make that adjustment then. Just stick to the plan for this year and then adjust in your next budget. It could be a lot less than if you guys want.
Otherwise, Austin, to answer your question, it wouldn't be till after December 18th that I could give you an exact answer, because that would be the last claims list. Because how I have based it in the past is what their revenues are, what their expenses are. If they made $100,000 more and spent $200,000 less, that's $300,000 you wouldn't need to transfer. But until the claims are finalized and on that 18th, I can't give you an answer.
It's just accounting, no matter how you do it, it's just accounting because their budget's their budget,
Yes.
right? They can't, because my mind goes, okay, if we transfer more money in there than what they actually needed, then they're gonna wanna spend it. Well, the budget's set, so it doesn't matter.
It just goes into cash at that point in time, yeah.
It's from here, from the enterprises to the general
Yeah.
fund.
And now that we know that if it's in the general fund, it can go
Yes.
back to a different department, that makes a big difference too. It used to be that if it went in the general fund, it had to stay there, you could never push it back. But let's say something crazy happens in the electric department, you can take that money back from the general and put it back into the
And
electric
that used to be the
department.
scary part, why we didn't want, it was so scary to transfer all that money into the general if you didn't need it all. But now that you can flow the other way and transfer out of the general.
Was that a change, or we just found that out?
It was a change. It changed before we found out, so it's a little bit of both, but
Yeah, I got you. I'm Switzerland.
I'm fine putting it all in there. It's what,
If we do, then we could just do the transfers that first meeting. You may not even need the meeting on the 28th unless,
the only thing would be is if somebody's budget, if they haven't been paying close enough attention and the 18th pushes them over, then you would need it.
that would create plenty of time for lively discussion.
Yeah, there you go.
So you guys are okay with pushing that onto the December 4th meeting for those transfers then? Letting
Yeah.
full council decide. You're Switzerland, but are you okay with it going to full
Yeah,
council?
that's fine.
Okay,
I'll tell you if I was fighting it.
okay.
Might as well do the airport. Let's work backwards.
Yep. So airport, which starts on that same page where that sticky note is. We knew that this was coming. It's just, I needed to get the mowing. There were several things in there that we needed to get done. We knew that propane kicked our butt because of the winter that we had, and we knew that snow removal kicked our butt. It looks to me like $5,000 from cash on hand into the airport fund. That'll cover the 2,466 overage from last night's meeting and get us through the end of the year. So it would be from cash on hand. If you look at the revenues for the airport fund, which I'm not sure if that printed for you or not, I think it was on the back page. I've been having printer issues. The airport fund's at 145% for revenues. Or you can see that down on the bottom of that. they've made some good revenues. They budgeted 42,000, they've made 62,000. And that's from several of those grants that we received, ARPA grant, Carissa grant, and we were able to submit some of our normal expenses in and get those reimbursed to us for purposes such as this. So it very clearly supports itself to take 5,000 from cash on hand to support this airport fund at this point in time. They did have a big $4,000 emergency expense. It was actually just right under 3,000. No, it was a little over 4,000. We got a letter from the company that said it was proprietary to the door. Our big revenue producing hangar, the door quit working, the motor on it quit working. Couldn't get it fixed. In fact, Troy and Ray went down there with a forklift, skid load, a big piece of equipment that could hold the door up, so that Guardian Flight could get out of there and some hunters could get out of there, and contacted the door company, got a new motor and brake assembly kit. And it was just, with the shipping, it was between 4,000 and 5,000. But that was one of those things that if we want to continue to make revenues, we kind of have to get it fixed. And we did get a proprietary letter from the company as well, that this is their door, you need their motor on it to make it work.
The door used to open once a month, other than hunting season. Now it opens 3 or 4 times a day.
Yeah. And it's, what did they tell me, 9 years? The motor on it's 9 years old or something like that. So it's done
So
pretty
our
well.
our yearly rent from Guardian will buy us a motor this year.
Oh, yeah.
And then some.
Yep. That's another reason your revenues are up.
What do they pay a month?
I don't know, because Dave sets that. By contract, Dave sets what people charge in there, and we get 2/3 of that rent back to us. And
No,
he just
we
writes us a check.
negotiated a price
Yeah.
with Guardian.
We did not. Dave did.
Dave did.
I want to say it's about 21.
Maybe Dave brought it to committee. I mean, I talked.
Yeah,
we
it was
talked
discussed,
about
I
it.
think, in committee. I think that's right. But I sure don't remember the number.
Okay.
Are you guys okay with doing a supplemental budget?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get something stuck in my head, then it's hard for me to listen to anything else, but I'm sorry, so I'm gonna ask that question so I can move on. Our 2023 contingency numbers, is it depleted, what's left in that, or where are we at?
I
just
should have
always
brought my
like-
paper with me from last night. There is, I want to say $7,000 in there.
Okay. And there is no 2024 contingency, correct?
Correct.
We depleted that.
Correct.
Okay.
You have 24/7 stuff in the packet. Do you want to address that?
Oh, I sure can. Yeah, as I was going through getting my report last night, I did a bunch of these. 24/7, I talked about it briefly last night. Your revenues are not supporting your expenses. So you've deficit spent $4,881.16 so far this year. So we need to do a supplemental, and it can be in the same one as the airport, in order to support that. I've had that brief conversation with Justin, so he was aware that I was gonna request this. I don't know exactly how much at this point in time. I'll have to sit down with Jeff, see how much more he plans on spending out of there. And then they have the cash to support it. If you remember in 2019, we actually took $60,000 from the electric fund and put it into the cash for the 24/7 so that we could keep utilizing that at that point in time. So they do have the cash to support moving over 10,000 or so. I just don't know until I get that number from Jeff, but I can get it for you before the next council meeting. It might just be 6,000. Oh, I guess I have sanitation in there too, but
I didn't see that in mine.
I think it's the very last page.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I do have it. Thank you.
Sanitation's gonna be fine on their expenses. Just based, I mean, obviously, I don't know if they've got any repairs and maintenance or supplies out there or anything, but based off of the guaranteed, what we have to pay, there's $57,200 guaranteed, and they've got $115,000 remaining, so they'll be fine.
And their revenues are up.
Yeah,
I'm projecting it at 87 now.
Okay.
The good, so that kind of follows
8,700 or 1,000?
1,000, which is a better position than what we were
Yep.
yeah.
originally at, so. Surplus properties, I think you guys, Austin's dug in,
Awesome, what?
has
Dug
dug
in.
into the map of the surplus properties.
So, I think it was about a month ago, we started talking about this. I think it started in the ordinance committee because Mr. Jensen had prepared a possible quitclaim deed. And at that point in time, council said, well, we'd like to know where these properties are and what they look like. So with that, I did get a list of all the properties that the city of Winter owns. I have a book in the finance office now that if you want to look at any of them, they're all like this with the highlight around what it is that we own. There was some interesting information that we found out through this project as well, that we're working on. But these are the things that I am told from Chelsea and from Troy that we would be okay with getting rid of. We have multiple different zonings. We have residential zonings, we have ag industrial zonings, and we have commercial zoning. So each, and then we have some decent sized easements on some of these too. So there's several things that all need to be considered before going through this, but we wanted you to see what there is. So the first one, North Van Buren, that's the old North Shop. It's right next to, kind of kitty corner from the Avenue of Flags.
Oh, used to be a shop there.
Yep, it's the old North Shop.
And what?
And it's
what-
right in front of the retired substation, right?
Yes.
So that all kind of flows
So
together.
all of those would be zoned what?
Those, I believe, are ag industrial.
No.
Ag.
Where's our zoning map? Not here. I have one on my phone.
It's a good question.
I mean, I was just gonna put notes on them because
Yeah,
it makes a
right.
big difference if
Yep.
it's,
I'll verify.
Yeah, the old North Shop and retired substation kind of all flow together.
And there is, that retired substation is in this list as well. Sorry, my phone is being, I'm
I'm
not smart
guessing
enough for my
I'm
phone.
guessing the lots 13 and 14 on First Street, those were old houses. I'm sure they're
Yes,
residential.
yes.
That is the home that Cody got from the bank that they were gonna sell. And he talked to them about the condition of the property and informed them we would tear it down, but asked them to turn the property over to us, and they did,
And they did, yeah.
rather than put it out there with that old dilapidated house to deal with later.
If you wanna look at that, the ball field,
Yes.
E,
So I did do some research on that. We purchased it from the owners outright, no restrictions on it at all. So we can do with it as we wish. However, there is a major sewer line running through there, so we would have to have that easement on there at that time.
And it runs kitty corner, I believe, from about midway between Iowa and Dakota Street across, and then there's another one that comes across from Dakota Street, kind of like a triangle Troy set up there.
I think the number 8 on between 6th and 7th, that used to get used all the time.
Where did you go?
Says across from pool.
Is a sidewalk there right now.
That, when the admin building used to be an elementary, that got used all the time.
I did not know that was city property.
Yeah. I don't know if we maintain that sidewalk anymore.
It's my understanding we maintain the property. The question was, would maybe the school want to maintain it? Would the school want that property since that's what it gets utilized for? So not all of these are we saying need to be put out for bid. It could be that we would gift them to another nonprofit or government agency, which we have the authority to do, or put it out for auction or bid. I did talk to Joyce Cartack with the county commissioners. They have an auction coming up end of February, beginning of March, that if we wanted to go in with them and share costs, the auction, she thinks they would be willing to share costs that with the city. So that is an option. We can do sealed bids, we can do our own auction, we can gift to a nonprofit, there's multiple options out there. I just wanted you guys to know your options. I do have the zoning map pulled up. I'm just trying to figure out where I'm at.
And for each property, it'll be necessary for the city to make a decision as far as, based upon the zoning and location and condition and things like that. Some of these may not be realistically set up for immediate building on the property.
Yeah.
Because the ones that should be built on will obviously want to include that provision on the deed when they sell it, and there will be disclosure at the time of sale of those conditions requiring them to proceed with development. But we'll have to just decide which ones should and which ones don't need to.
But across from the pool lot, that can't be built on. It's not big enough unless they took the sidewalk out, which somebody could do that.
If you took the sidewalk out, you technically
Yeah,
could,
then you can
yeah.
build on it.
Yeah.
So that would be limited.
We are gonna do some research on that one. When I showed this to the cabinet meeting on Friday, Mr. Kruger thought that there was something stipulating that it always had to be a sidewalk there and used for children, so we are gonna do some research to make sure that that is the
Like if
case.
somebody donated the property, yeah.
Yep. The North Van Buren Old North Shop, where the Old North Shop is a C2, so it's commercial. And then where the A and B is, which is where the old retired substation is, that is that weird green color. R3MH.
Right. So how do you gain access to it without going through the commercial zone?
So what's the letters you rattled off? What,
R3MH?
Residential mobile home.
okay.
You can build anything there that's not commercial, right?
So the first page, those lots 1 and 2, those are commercial zoned.
I don't have them in what order. of
Oh,
that.
okay. So the North Van Buren Old North Shop,
Okay.
that is commercial 2. And then the retired substation, that's that big lots A and B.
Yeah.
That is the R3MH, so residential mobile home.
So, to be fair with everybody, I don't think it's, how is it zoned residential mobile home, but it was okay for us to have a substation on it?
I don't know when it was zoned that way.
Sure we do. 2011.
I was gonna say it was after that was a substation.
Took the substation down and then they zoned it.
I assume that's probably about right.
I mean, the substation is there, it's still there, they'd have to take that down. It's just, what's the term?
It's
It
down.
hasn't been used in years.
Oh, it is?
It's
Oh,
down.
Last time I
There's-
was there, it was. still
There's
down
nothing there.
Okay. Retired?
No.
That doesn't sound, anyways, they have a whole real phrase for that. First Street is that, lot 1314, that's gonna be that R3MH as well.
What did you find on lot E, the ball field?
That one is in that R3MH as well.
What's F? R3 MH also?
F?
Yeah, right beside it.
Yes, it would be.
And then
I think right behind F to the east, not showing on the map, is our wastewater, our stormwater system that rolls through there. Where did you ever find that map?
I just typed zoning map and under search. So you go to the
Yeah.
ordinances. So Main Street, both of those are commercial to downtown. So there's certain stipulations on the downtown side of things. That Lamro is residential. It would be, it's yellow, R2. And I apologize, I don't know enough about the meanings of those. They don't have as much to do with my job, so I haven't spent the time to learn exactly what they mean.
Well, your
But I can get
R2,
you that definition.
R2 is definitely, the primary feature is residential. Single and I think it allows some double, family home types setup.
That lot 8 that has the sidewalk on it, it is, the lot size is the same as all the other lot sizes.
I thought it was.
Just got a sidewalk rolling through it.
And it's an R3. So I'll do the research up at the courthouse and find out for sure if there are stipulations behind it.
What's the difference between R2 and R3?
I'd have to do some checking, Jeremy, off the top of my head, I don't remember.
that one with the sidewalk, I think with the school there, I think it's just a good gesture to keep the sidewalk there.
We talk often about the sidewalk on 7th Street and how dangerous it is. This gives kids an opportunity, not that a lot of kids walk to school anymore, but it's still a path to get there, and especially in the summer, it comes out right there by the pool also.
Yeah. I mean, whether we maintain it or we talk to the school, I'm fine with either one.
I don't know. Yeah. It serves the school, it serves the pool.
Yeah, either one,
I think that's probably one we might want to consider keeping, and just because it's a passage to the school. But I'm not really in favor of keeping lots, just the city-owned lots, but that one is.
There was conversation on either one of the lots, the ball field or the old substation. Public Works Director Kruger said maybe this is an opportunity for council to develop a community garden. There was a request for that here in the past. And the old substation lots would obviously be fertile ground down there in that low-lying area, moist. He goes, that might one or both might be good opportunities to open that up to the public. I found that interesting. I'm not familiar with community gardening, but
So what most cities are doing with community gardens is there essentially is a club or group that the city will allow them, they're considered a nonprofit, the city will allow them to maintain a community garden. Rapid City allows it in some of their parks. They have flower gardens, and you can define what kind of things you want in those gardens. Then they essentially plot it out, and that group then charges $10 or whatever for you to get 1-2 plots, whatever. And then that helps pay for the water usage that's down there, and then that group pays for the water usage down there. So we have had plenty of people over the years ask us, hey, can we do a community garden? Where can we do a community garden? They asked about it over at the Boy Scout cabin at one point in time. It's just finding somebody who wants to be in charge to make sure that it's staying weeded, that people aren't stealing, different things like that. I think we could probably find someone to do that. I just don't know, do you want the city to truly be in charge of that?
I think we supply some land and some good dirt, and an organization or the community takes care of it. It's just like the gym. We supply an area, take care of it or lose it. I mean, we can't put somebody down there and monitor it. And count
As an employee, no.
Count cucumbers every day, make sure somebody didn't steal them that night. I mean,
Right.
Wow.
I think, I like the idea of a community garden. I've heard a lot of people talk about it before too. I think supplying the land, putting some really good topsoil on it, and having it ready for somebody to come in and start taking care of is my opinion of the extent of the city's responsibility.
So for
If it even happens, I mean, we're hypothetical thinking even, you know, if that's what the whole council decided to do with a lot.
You gotta have an organization willing to be in charge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
We're looking for less work from the city,
Correct.
not more.
Yeah.
Because I look at these lots and we've heard the echoes of a dog park too. And a lot of these lots would fit into that. That would be more work for the city.
You're right.
If there would be an organization that wants to run a dog park, similar.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Your definitions, R1 is single family. That means you can just have one home, one single
Okay.
family. R2 means you can have two, so twin homes. R2MH, same thing, except mobile homes are allowed. R3 is multifamily, that's where your apartment complexes can come in, or triplexes. And then R3MH, multifamily mobile home is allowed.
Beat me, I was just getting there.
Sorry.
Well, I appreciate your technical ability there.
Well, I'm
And your
learning.
effort. Yeah,
I'm really behind the world, but I'm learning.
yeah, Chandra took your thunder.
I'm sorry.
Well, she's good at that. She could run the whole city off her phone.
Shoot, no. I can open doors.
There you go.
Call you thumbs.
Yeah.
Okay, for your viewing pleasure.
Yep.
And things to consider. The last one is the one that I brought up yesterday. We started discussing, and it was at a time when corrections was really depleted. Over 30% of the workforce was down. And we started talking about an emergency hiring bonus policy. We have our standard policies with hiring bonuses, but we started talking about that situation, and we have another situation in a different department right now that has been over 30% down for a substantial amount of time. The question I posed in personnel yesterday was, as an example, you appropriated to that department, let's say $250,000. And if it's 30% down for a good portion of the year, that's a crisis on the operation. There are gonna be funds that are unused in the personal services, the OASI, and the health benefits. All told, rather than taking that money back to the unappropriated cash in that department the next year and not dealing with the problem and trying to fix the crisis, we just send that cash back. We talked about taking those funds that were going to become unappropriated and putting them into an emergency hiring bonus policy. What that policy would do, we're just throwing figures around, and this is ultimately the council's decision, but if you, above and beyond what we have currently, would for each one of those positions go to $25,000 over a 5-year period. Or a 4-year period, we said. 10,000 the first year, 5,000 each of the remaining 3 years to fill those positions. And all those funds would come from, the funds for the bonuses would come from the funds that are not going to be used for wages that year. We explored it with the committee corrections, and we were actually heading that way until we went the direction of offering wages, higher wages in that department. We've got another department that it's not gonna change. And when we took a look at some of the issues that they're dealing with on a national level, state level, first of all, we see the same problems in the state. We see it on a national level. It's just an industry that is very difficult. It's tough, it's a high turnover area, and you need really qualified people. I don't wanna say that. You need people that are very able to deal with a high-stress situation, rotating shifts. And so in this particular department, you're probably gonna have about, I think I remember yesterday I said 120 that will go back from personal services and benefits to unappropriated cash next year. And all we're doing is we're burning out, in my opinion, the staff that's there because we don't address the problem in the supervisor. We could go with the higher wages. I don't like that idea. I like keeping the wages where they're at in scale.
Well, they got the higher wages already.
In corrections, they did. In corrections is not the department I'm discussing. It's a,
But, well, citywide, we
all right,
raised,
911,
citywide, we brought everybody's wage up.
right.
So, Jody, my only concern about emergency hiring bonus is fair and equal to everyone across the board.
Yep. I get it, Jeremy. And that was something we discussed yesterday. Is it fair to the others that are still there, that have stood through the whole time? Well, their reward right now is they're getting as much overtime as they want. But ultimately, the sacrifice is they don't ever get
They don't want overtime, they want time off.
correct. And they're not getting their scheduled holidays when they go in and put in for a holiday. I really need you to work. Well, they're more than willing to do that because they're great team players. But ultimately, at the end of the day, they don't get to spend that holiday with their family. They don't get to go on that vacation that they want. And we're continuing in this, as we look at it, we saw it in one department. I'm afraid we'll see it soon in another. It's a smoldering underneath, and pretty soon 30% could become 40, 50, and we may really be in a terrible situation. The efforts are correct from the supervisor, looking at the training, the hiring efforts. Everything is in line with what we do. It's just that, and you see it in South Dakota, in conversations with other PSAPs, same problem. Nobody's addressed, okay, how do we attack this? We would be the first ones to attack it with anything like this measure. They actually see it on a federal level, where they're seeing the same problem in other PSAP distribution centers. I see what you're saying. Another thing that we talked about is, okay, the person comes in, and because it is high stress, 10,000 that first year, they only make it 6 months. Well, they don't even make it, maybe they don't even make it through probation. It's not rewarded until they get through that. We protect ourselves. It's not all up front.
If something like that did happen, I mean, I think it's the same thing in the police department where, you know, even if you get the deal, they're not certified, they're burned out before they leave for the academy, or they find out they don't want to do it
Right.
before they leave for the academy. Same thing with dispatch. They're not even getting through,
Some of them don't.
you know, and I don't think any bonus should be handed until they've been through the training.
Correct. I agree.
Because right now, the way I think it, kind of the policy for a moving bonus is somebody could move here and say, yeah, I'll be a police officer. They go work for 6 months. They haven't gotten into the academy yet. They're still not a certified police officer. They could get the moving bonus.
Oh, they get it in their first paycheck at this point in time.
You know, I think when you're certified is when you should be eligible for this stuff.
No, one of the things that we do know from discussion is our program, our training program, according to our supervisors and some of the people that have attended the state certification versus what we train them, our in-house is almost more thorough than what they have to go through on the state level. That's almost that probationary period that you're talking about.
Yeah.
I agree, Austin. We can't just throw taxpayer dollars away, but one of the things that we were looking at is right now, we know where the wages are gonna be. They're very competitive wages. But for us to go hire somebody maybe coming out of college, what would incent somebody to move to a 911 PSAP in rural America? We have the moving bonus, but this gives them possibly an opportunity to sink long-term roots. Jeremy, I know where you're at, and I get it. The people that are there are gonna be like, huh.
Right, you know, those are the ones that have been with us for a long time, of course. And they're here, they're not gonna leave, we can't take advantage of them. But where my mind is what if Chandra needs to hire somebody for her department or whatever, and she doesn't have a $10,000 bonus? There's this person that is the person she wants, and like, sorry, a 10,000 would get that person for her. And that's not fair and equal if we offered in one department, but we don't offer it in another.
So what we talked about yesterday is a parameter. We're clearly defining emergent hiring. And when we took a look at corrections, it was 33%. They were down a third of their staff. We have one other department right now, it's the sewer department. We can't hire anybody in there. That's 100% of that department, but we set the parameter for it to be emergent and for council, for them to even be able to come to you as a council, they had to be 30% in going the wrong direction. So let's take water department. In that department with benefits, you have about $60,000 there that are gonna go back to the unappropriated cash. And had we had the right candidate with the, and we may have just lost that candidate to a different agency in the state. May have been the perfect candidate. But is that 25,000 in an emergent situation? Can't come to you as a council. You as a council set the policy saying, this is what we define as emergent. We've got examples that say it's a third of the department. So if Chandra's down one and your department was used,
No, that's fine.
that's 25%. That's not emergent. But by God, if we lose 2 in finance, that is emergent at that point. And so the second parameter that has to be considered with this is we set a percentage of the department, but how long do we go with our normal hiring process when leaving that position empty and vacant? Is it a 3-month period where we can't afford operationally to tax that department and have 2 people trying to do the jobs of 4? We can't have 24 people, or in that case, 22 people trying to do the job of 33. We hire that one person over in the water department to fill that out. I'm not saying this is the answer. I threw this out to HR yesterday. We're proposing it to you for consideration with parameters that you want to put on there to define emergent, and how long before we define it as emergent, before we use those funds that we've already appropriated, taxpayer dollars, that are just gonna go back to the bank. And instead of banking them, a week ago, we had a guy got away because we didn't have an emergent policy, and this would have been what tipped it over in somebody's opinion. But we let that right person for the residents of the city of Winter and operations get away. Now, they've managed in that department, but when you look at the other, one, we came up with a different solution after a huge detailed study. But the other one, it's not resolving itself. And I'm personally concerned. So I threw this out at the HR committee saying, this is an opportunity for us to come up with a solution to a crisis emergent situation. You guys define the parameters.
And it has to be, I think, when we talked yesterday, we made it so council has to declare
Absolutely.
when it
100%.
becomes emergent. So the department has.
You
to
control the
appoint-
funds.
Yep.
You guys
would-
control the
would-
funds.
Yeah, you would start the process by council actually defining what is emergent, what is your criteria, et cetera. From that point forward, it would be council's decision to look at the situation and say, this meets it, we hereby declare the emergency. Then that enacts whatever it is, and it lasts for the period of time that you as council have set.
There's nothing out there like this, but, well, you see it on a, kind of on a national level. The military, when numbers are dipping, they'll declare it emergent and they'll throw more funding at it to recruit and enlist. I've never seen it on other levels, and I just asked the question, and I'm asking if council would be interested in putting together something to do this.
I think there could be something done. I think it's crucial to say if we're gonna throw a bunch more at somebody, they're coming in certified. They have their sewer certification, they have their water certification. Not somebody that we're training, we're gonna send to classes, we're gonna, the
Just
police.
to recruit a warm body or something.
Yeah, just to fill it. A police officer, he comes in, he's certified, he puts his badge on and he's on the street by himself.
Yeah.
That kind of situation, not me getting a bonus at the hospital, say, someday I wanna be a nurse.
Right.
And, take the $10,000 sign-on bonus and I'm never a nurse.
And you're mopping the floor.
Yeah, I mean, and there's gonna be a lengthy policy or whatever, I would have to guess, but that's the direction I'm leaning towards
Okay.
is a bunch of bonus money means you're ready to hit the ground running
Or they don't get it until,
until they've done it and completed
And they're
it and
completed.
served a year of certification or something like that. I mean, if we're gonna throw a bunch of money, we need longevity or no training. You're ready, or you're gonna get trained and you're gonna be here or a year or two or whatever before you get it.
Right.
Something like that.
How do you do that?
That's-
So
After a
this
year.
is my devil's advocate on it. Not all departments, streets, finance, finance officer should have some type of ability and training in there, but your utility billing, your accounts payable, your admin
Well,
building,
maybe it's a different
janitorial,
dollar amount, but I'm
Okay.
saying people that have to have a certification that,
they would get more of a bonus type
you
of
know,
deal.
I mean,
Sure.
I think there's gonna be a lot of stipulations, it could be done, but I think it needs to be not just.
we want the right
You're
candidate.
you're
Not just
talking
the
about
one
just
body.
keeping that first big bite of the bonus as the care that's being held in front of them until they complete certification.
Either complete certification or,
Bang, a year.
if you come in and you're certified, you put a year in, you get it. Or,
Right.
something like that. The other thing is, I haven't seen anything on the claims list that anybody's been going to these job fairs that we talked about.
No, I agree. That's
So-
something that I do want them doing.
I mean, that's,
That ties into my thought, I hear what you're saying, I agree with everything you're saying, I do. Especially the time frame before the bonus is received. The other part of it is, if you, the mayor, the council feels the department is right,
Operationally.
because maybe, I'm just using this example, maybe the finance officer, maybe the people don't want to work for her.
Yep, and
And
that's-
we're not filling it because of that issue.
Right.
And now we're gonna just throw more money at it. Well, that's not the problem. The problem is higher up. But another part of it, and it's all in that conversation, if we feel the department is right, everything's good, we're in place, and it just, yeah, so, you're, sorry to use that example.
No, it's fine. I don't like to work
We
for
have to
her
have an
either.
example.
I don't like working for her either.
But you know what I'm saying? And I'm
I
not
do.
saying that the departments aren't right.
Right.
Just if it fits, if it's right, and everything's just a perfect scenario, and we aren't filling them, well, then, yeah, okay, I can see myself that maybe we need to throw some taxpayer dollars towards this issue. And I do like the part, bringing in a cop from Illinois or wherever they're coming from, certified, ready to go to work, and after they've been here a year, here's your first thank you for coming here and helping us out. Versus then hiring me or Austin to come in here and ride around and do nothing. Hey, I get $10,000.
Well, you see
I
it.
see that. I
And
do.
I don't know the details on a training but you see it when they're not certified, so then you're paying two guys in one car or
Yeah.
two cars, and then when the uncertified officer pulls somebody over, the certified officer
Yeah.
pulls up behind them to actually do it. So you got two wages. You pay them while they're at the academy, either right before the academy or as soon as they get home, they say, this ain't for me. So we're spending, not a hiring bonus, but we're paying two wages to let them figure out they don't like it.
I
So
see
I think
that.
we're giving you not a no. just
No, I,
parameters.
Yeah.
hey, I'm not,
That's all we wanted.
I
think
this
it's
is all discussion.
a
I have
lengthy-
no idea where we go with
Lengthy
this.
thing to figure it out.
It would be nice to have something on the books, because if you have that right, I always say guy, but that right person,
Yep.
that right person that fits the needs, the immediate need of the city of Winter and is really gonna help us. And we have a labor shortage in a lot of departments where you just need bodies too. I understand that. You need, because you don't know if that body becomes the guy.
Yeah.
And you're not always gonna get that guy. But I think maybe Austin was alluding to it. Maybe that body doesn't warrant a $10,000 after a 1-year bonus, but maybe as a, hey, you're doing good. Here's a $2,000 emergent hiring bonus, but that guy comes in and fills us out and just assumes and lightens the load immediately. That's a different deal.
The other thing that you guys are touching on, or I think was Austin touched on, we need to be at the job fairs. We have a
Yeah.
graduation.
Been saying that for years.
Yes, and we have a graduation. Okay, a college fair.
No, and that's fine. I just,
But we have so many institutes right now, graduating kids coming out
Yep.
in less than a month. I'm not saying we need to have time, but in 1 month, we could be in front of these people, and quite honestly, you have to be in front of their instructors, have 4 to 6 months before that. Who are your top kids coming out, candidates that would be interested? We have this position, who would fill this role?
so I absolutely agree with that. It's something that I've wanted for years, even
We all
before I
have.
was finance officer. I
We all
wanted it.
have.
Who and when has the time to go? Because right now, you're one department
I'm
that we're
not talking about HR going, I'm talking about those departments are gonna have to have,
Correct, but
Th-
who
this-
has that time? They're filling in right now. They're short-staffed.
that's a good
is-
point.
Jody,
It's a big
you
problem.
hit exactly on my mind thought, who and when should be going. If we have a full-time HR person, so in the world now, and it's foreign to me, but they're recruiters.
Yep.
And it's big out there. There's a lot of
That is
people
your
that are
HR department is
recruiters.
recruiter.
I think my nephew is a recruiter for companies, And maybe that, instead of paring
A
down
headhunter.
HR, maybe that's what HR should be doing as part of it, is the person going to the job fairs, going to the high schools or whatever, because you have military recruiters going out, recruiting. Say,
Where
hey,
was this guy during budget season?
yeah, well, it's a different thought. When you're talking about dreams, there's no dollar budget attached.
Right.
Budget is reality.
Ah,
There's a big difference. Yeah, we'd love to throw this and this and trying to bring a solution about how you can fund it. But you're talking about, here's the budget.
Yeah.
I want a dream. No, sorry, we got numbers we gotta get to. That's
But if
why I
we're
asked.
paying that much out in overtime in other departments, maybe it's no longer a dream. Maybe it's a necessity. But, I mean, I hear both sides. I absolutely do.
I'm not opposed to this at all. I do wish that, we can't even say that job fairs failed us, because we haven't went.
Right.
Corrections
And those
did go
Are,
a couple months
I
ago.
would bet, fairly cheap to send somebody to a one
yeah.
big job fair.
Yep.
That's a little bit frustrating that hasn't been done.
Yep.
I guess we
What are some of the
quite a
other,
few departments came to the city council and wanted higher wages. We need to keep these people, we need to get wages. So we did that. Now the next step, we need more for a hiring bonus. Well,
So,
how hard have we really, really tried to get them?
it goes back to, I always say, I'm willing to help someone if they're trying to help themselves. And that's just what you're saying.
Yeah.
You know, are you doing everything you can to help yourself?
Yeah.
So how do we get someone to these job fairs? Honestly, in all reality, when when those departments that are hiring are so short-staffed that they're working,
that supervisor's working
Yeah.
30 extra hours already.
and I can absolutely send Rhonda,
Is it the appointeds along with HR?
and that's, I'm not against
Well,
that either.
I mean,
but-
We have a
And we
position.
talked about that yesterday.
Yeah.
Is that not almost in the job title, assumed description?
No, we've not talked about
In
that.
my mind, it is.
That's something we could add.
I mean,
Along with-
So like, you just say Black Hills State, what do they have, 2 job fairs a year? One in the fall, one?
I'll
in the-
bet they have
Mitchell
4.
Tech's got 4, I think, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
They've got people in all the time.
So, but I mean, well, for instance, law enforcement, that degree is USD and what schools?
You got Watertown Tech, you got Mitchell Tech, and you got Northwest Iowa Tech.
Western Dakota Tech
Western Dakota, thank you. Yeah.
also has a great program.
Those tech schools are a great deal.
Oh, they are.
They're a fact.
And you'll find some of the most qualified people in the world graduating those places.
I don't know about so much taking somebody, I don't know. I think the person that's actually going to hire them needs to be there to explain the job, the
Their
community,
day-to-days,
you know?
yeah.
I have no business going to a job fair trying to hire a police officer,
Yeah,
you know?
Right.
HR person might know
a little bit.
more than anything about the benefits, when you get paid, whatever.
Yeah,
Right.
the bonuses.
But not the job.
The supervisor or the appointed needs to, I would have to say, needs to be there. And I think that if you went to one job fair at those 3 or 4 schools, that's 4 days a year. I think we could say, whoever, Rhonda and Justin, you're going to here.
Yeah,
That's a start.
That's only quarterly, 1 day quarterly. I think we could send them.
okay.
I don't think it's not doable. It's saying water, I mean, there's not really there's no college for that, you know, I mean.
Right.
I don't know.
There is actually,
You
There
actually
is.
do at Brookings,
yeah.
Yeah.
in some of the VOTECs. They specifically
In
have
Mitchell
those.
as well. They
Yeah.
have a,
But we gotta be in front of them people.
But you gotta
know,
get there.
Austin and I could go and we can recruit and we can sell winter, but not the job.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's, so when I envision the HR side of it, HR is gonna be there to sell the benefits and to sell winter. Your departments, your department head or appointee, they're there to sell the job.
Yep.
So you need both there, and I agree with that, and maybe we do just start with those tech schools once a quarter, and we can start moving up from there.
Yeah, we
4
gotta do
days.
it.
4
Final,
days a year, I
final
can
comment,
live with that.
final comment that I want you to consider also. Obviously, the one position, the water department, it affects 3,000 residents here in Winter. But when we were looking at the other one and we had to find a solution, and now we're looking at the 911, it's the residents of Winter plus the residents of 7 other counties that we owe for a service we provide.
Yep, that we're a service that we're charging for.
Correct.
And that's the other conversation that we've alluded, we've hinted around in the past also. If we're gonna charge for a service, you gotta provide an excellent service.
Correct.
And if it isn't feasible for us to try and provide that service financially anymore, maybe we get out of that.
We have to decide.
Yeah.
But do we make every effort to find out? And it's not like you're spending additional taxpayer dollars. These are appropriated funds that were gonna go unused, that, let's use them another way to get them into that next budget. I'm glad, I just wanted you to hear the conversation, the thought. You guys ultimately have to draft the policies with Mr. Jensen to make this work for everybody, and it's in your hands, but it's gotta start somewhere. Gentlemen, the ball is in your court
All right.
to start exploring.
I got a busy day.